Hi, I'm Gavin Brown. You guys all know me. I'm kind of that guy. So I'm doing a presentation about why this is so damn bad, and that is the Snake River Dam System, and specifically the lower 4 dams. There's quite a few issues with this dam system, and honestly, I could go on forever about it, and I really don't understand why we haven't taken them out. But some of the top reasons that this is just kind of destroyed what the native Idaho kind of vibe was first of all, they took out the natural salmon and steelhead migration path that actually came all the way up through Boise, and we do have salmon and steelhead that make it up to the Riggins area, which is about 3 hours south of here. But the numbers, as I'll show you in the next slide, have just absolutely plummeted in the last couple of years, especially since about 1956 when these dams were originally constructed. The salmon and steelhead population has absolutely tanked. And it's kind of flattened out to a lower level, but it's nowhere near. I mean, we're about less, like I'd say probably a third of what we were at. You can see it on the graph. It's definitely below a half of the original population that used to roam this area. The other thing about these dams, to just go away from the fishing aspect, and as you guys have seen with my prior presentations, I am a huge fan of fishing, all types. But to step away from my realm a little bit, they just make no economic sense. They cost more to operate than they produce. They produce about 3,000 megawatts of energy a piece, which really equates to about half of what they cost to operate, which makes no sense any way you look at it. The only thing that's holding them back from demolishing is just the cost of demolition. And the repercussions of having to supply water from elsewhere for irrigation, for farms and stuff like that. But the soot and everything that comes with demolishing those dams would be flushed out of the river within 2 to 3 years. And after that, we'd be making basically a steady income versus to what we've already been doing. These dams can be replaced with other irrigation systems that do not inhibit the flow of salmon and steelhead and inhibit the flow of the river in general. But I'll go into depth more in the next slide on that. The other thing with these dams is that they actually cause flooding. And a lot of people think that the dams are there to limit flooding. But these specific 4 dams do not do anything to mediate flooding and actually cause it. A lot of dams will store water to make sure that they don't flood the area around the farmlands. But these dams do not store any water. They only produce energy, and with the amount of water that they back up, they actually don't have floodgates large enough to let water flow by when we've got a big runoff here. Now, what we'll do to reinstate the natural migration path and also just demolish these dams, and obviously this is my main point with this is the fishing aspect, but there's economic points to this as well. The first thing we need to do is obviously demolish the dams. And that's going to be going about with dynamite charges, basically your typical underwater demolition system. And like I said previously, that will cause some soot to kick up in the river, but that'll be washed out with 2 to 3 years, and then that's everything out back to how the river used to be before the dams were instated back in 1957. And the other thing too is that when we demolish these dams, within the first year, the money savings that we will gain will not only pay off the demolition of these dams, but also will pay for us to create a new canal system, such as the New York Canal down in Boise, since that's where I'm from. And I know that some of you guys are from there as well and know about the New York Canal. And it's a canal that comes off the Boise River without a damming system that provides irrigation to all the farmland surrounding, which that is something that all these dams can be replaced with and solve the problem. And the main rebuttal to this argument that we need to demolish the dams as well, how do we get irrigation? Well, it's simple. You do irrigation canals and have different lock systems for that. And like I was saying previously, here's that graph of how these populations have just absolutely plummeted. I mean, like, damn, that's bad. So you can see it just really just plummets. And then it kind of smooths out, and we've gotten ups and downs, and that's just really depending on how hard the commercial fishing gets hit. And it's something that we should see these levels again. We should see these levels of salmon and steelhead all the time. And if we saw these levels of salmon and steelhead, this would reinstate Idaho as one of the fishing meccas of the world again. And now we are still one of the better places to find salmon and steelhead, but not nearly as good as Oregon, Washington, even Michigan for the inland Chinook. The other thing too that we can do with all the saved money that we have from these dams is allocate more money towards the hatcheries and towards something that we can actually revive the population and reuse the larger fish to create a good biogenetic line of fish that are generally larger, which are better for commercial fishing, for feeding, and better for just regular residential fishing as well. Now, I've already listed some things about how this will benefit you, but just to list some more is, again, Idaho will become one of the best places to fish salmon and steelhead in the country, if not the world. Now, you might say that, oh yeah, they have to swim through Oregon and Washington anyways, but the thing is while they're on that migration path, they're not looking to feed that much. It's once they get later into their migration path where they've already fed up in the oceans and started that migration path, and once they start getting to Idaho, the Riggins area, going up the Snake into the Boise River, that's where they're going to start losing that nutrition, having to feed again. So one of if not the best place to fish for them will be the Boise Riggins area in Idaho, which will bring a lot of tourism in Idaho, which I know a lot of people aren't fans of, but whether or not what your opinion is, tourism is one of the main incomes for Idaho in that part of the region, the Fish and Game region. Paying for licenses, guiding, all that stuff, that all goes back into the Fish and Game to keep this a great fishery and pay for people to clean the river and keep these fishing spots maintained, the docks maintained, the boat launches maintained, all this stuff. And the tourists are the ones that are paying that high dollar. It's not your local fisherman that's going to be doing that. So another thing that we need to do is, another thing that's going to benefit is it's going to free up taxpayer money. That's been kind of a big topic I've been talking about here. And I know that taxpayer money is something that we can all connect on, just because that benefits everyone's life in any way, whether that's going to the education system, whether that's going to the public road system, whether that's going into the medical field, wherever those taxpayer dollars are going, it's just going to be more money for those departments to then blossom even more. And this can all just be done by demolishing 4 dams. It's so simple, I don't understand why it hasn't been done yet. But as you can see, I'm not the only one that's passionate about this. There's actually people that will go and paint these messages on the dam to try and rally up a cause and do this stuff. And this one says, remove the lower 4 Snake River dams. And I mean, you can see that boat compared to the size of that, there was a serious amount of effort put into painting that. And that just kind of shows how the measures that people are wanting to go just to get this point across. And I mean, same with me, I'm very passionate about this for the fishing aspect and for the economical aspect of everything. The other thing too is just like I was saying about the tourism, the salmon and steelhead population will improve the economy for the entire Pacific Northwest, not only Idaho. It will raise Oregon, Washington, even Northern California. It's going to help everybody, and so there's really not a lot of negatives to this other than the 2 to 3 years it's going to take for the river to clear out and for us to construct those new irrigation canals and lock systems. And like this says, you guys are all invited to come with me to a dam rally. And yes, that's actually what they're called. The pun is made to be funny, but obviously isn't that funny because you guys don't like to laugh. But these dam rallies consist of a lot of people making these signs and stuff like that to try to advocate and push this, not push an agenda, but just kind of present an agenda to the Congressman of Idaho to make this decision to be able to allocate the money towards demolishing these dams. And I would love for you guys to join me at one of these rallies to help our community and really just benefit the Pacific Northwest and Idaho overall. Now, I would like to share with you guys some of the sources that I used for this. They are included here, but are not limited to salmon.org. There, we've also got Mike Simpson with IdahoTV.com. That they do a lot of stuff, a lot of news, a lot of active news where they're actually going out to these rallies and presenting stuff. Another one is Anna Smith with Inlander.com. She's a very big advocate on the journalism side of the salmon and steelhead population runs, not just for demolishing these dams, but in general advocating for less commercial fishing and more protection of these sacred creatures that have been roaming this area much, much longer than any of us have been. And that's the end. So do I have any questions from anybody? Yes, Katie.
How often do you use the Snake River to go fishing?
While I'm up here, it hasn't been very much just because I'm not as close to it, but since I've grown up my whole life in Boise, the Snake River is one of the best fishing spots that you can go to around there, and duck hunting, because I know that Ethan, you do like to duck hunt a lot. So a lot of different outlets are kind of created by the Snake River, and so I mean I'm using it probably at least once a month, if not more, especially since one of the main reservoirs I like to fish is on the dam system, but it's not included in the lower 4 dams. But yes, it's a pretty sweet area, and I do go there very often.
So following up on that, have you experienced any personal effect from the dam, an experience that you can recount for us?
I mean, an experience I always is running through my mind is the fact that when I'm walking around downtown Boise, I'm looking at the river and can always just imagine in my mind there used to be one of the largest salmon and steelhead populations running right here through town that I'm in every single day. Well, not anymore, that I was there every single day. And this is a fish that I drive 3, 4, 5, 6 hours to go search for, and then I don't even catch one. When there was 10 times as many as where I'm driving to, floating right through my native city. And I mean, the other thing that I've really been affected by was the flooding, because they're, like I said, they don't do anything to help the flooding, and so there's a lot of times where that floods farm fields and does other things that affects my daily life directly. I mean, that's road closures, that's limited food supply, and I mean, just a lot of stuff.
For sure.
Austin, I saw that you had a question.
If you destroy these dams, what do you think it would do to the life inside of the water? I'm talking more what do you think would happen?
Plant life and
Plant
stuff?
life, fish life,
It'd probably be better, honestly.
It would, in the long term, it'd be better.
in
After
the
the
long
first
term.
2-3 years, it's gonna, like I said, there's gonna be a
Wash out.
period that you're gonna have to wash all that soot out and do all this stuff, and it is gonna kill some wildlife and plant life demolishing these dams, but you're gonna replenish so much more than what you're gonna
Also,
take.
it'd just be flowing water.
Yes, you'd have natural flows, because the thing is the river's been there a lot longer than we've been messing with it, and it's been doing just fine. I mean, a river will allocate water where it needs to and prevent flooding when it needs to. It doesn't need us. Flooding happens, yes, but it has learned, it's been here millions of years. It knows how to allocate that water to other places. Caitlin?
Do you actually think they'll take the dams down?
I think definitely. I think we're really cresting upon a turn in Congress, and we've already been seeing that. I mean, it used to be a very heavily weighted vote to the no side, and in the recent votes we've seen, because this is presented in Congress, for Idaho Congress, every single time or even the country's Congress, basically every single time they have a poll or a voting session, it's in the ballots, and the vote is starting to turn towards the yes side. We're not all the way over that side, but I mean, now it's going to be a 47, 53% vote. It's still the winning side is no, but it's definitely turning, and I think in the next decade, going to see those dams get blown up. Any other questions?
Good job.
Nice job. Woo.
Damn.